no introduction to most people, I think. Tom Clarke is part of the Export Furniture and a legend of the Newcastle community, so yeah. I'll hand over to Tom, and he's going to tell us all about the wonderful work that himself and a multitude of volunteers have been achieving.
Correct.
Yeah, so
that's what I've got to tell you.
welcome to Tom.
Start this presentation with someone that's really enjoying life. Right? Getting completely filthy dirty, big happy smile on his face, and he's got 2 mid-falls there of mangroves. What on earth could this fella be up to? Well, he's just wondering as well, but anyway, he's doing his bit for restoring shorebird habitats. He's doing some restoration, and there's been quite a bit of shorebird habitat restoration done in the lower Hunter, in the Hunter Estuary over the last 20 years, and millions of dollars have been spent on those things, like some swamp rehab, and Pomago wetlands, and the NCIG effort there at Fish Fly Flats. But this is what I'm going to talk about tonight, is what this club's managed to achieve. So we're just looking at 50 years, can that be correct? Well, I'll prove that in a minute. So it's basically, it's been volunteers that's been doing this work, with some help from time to time with some funding, but much low key, much low budget sort of work, but even though I feel it's been pretty important stuff that we've been doing. Here's a picture of a part of the Hunter Estuary. It's a photo was taken 48 years ago, so it's not exactly 50, but it's close enough. And this is what we used to go and play in, and all the birds, all the shorebirds used to play in. I'll just point out some features. Okay, that's the Pearl Street Bridge. Okay, that's Swan Pond. Okay, look at the water there. Look at all this other stuff it used to be associated with. Right, Fish Fly Flats, Wader Creek, Milton Pond. All of this was shallow waters, brackish, shorebirds everywhere. Fantastic. There's been a lot of changes in the last 48 years. One of the biggest changes, from my mind, sort of says quite a bit about what's happening here. The Hunter Estuary, you think of it's like a delta, 20 islands, or 20 land masses that are big enough to have a name, right? That's been reduced to 4 islands. Some clever person worked out that when it was 20 islands, there was 118 kilometres of shore in the estuary. Shorebirds like shore. Well, now they've got 51 kilometres. That's all they've got. So there's been drastic changes here, and I feel that we've got some sort of obligation to these birds to look after them. It's not the only place in the world that this is sort of things happen. This is what the fuss is about, the shorebirds. I'm just going to show you some pictures. You know what these are. You don't have to tell you. Sure. Okay, golden bubbles. Gorbits. Tattlers. These are the birds that like to come into Lower Hunter for our summer and stay here. And that's where they play. They play all the way up and down this thing, the highways. Breeding up here, coming back down to here. This is where we are, that little spot there. So this is the story, what we've been going on about the last 20 odd years, is us doing our little bit here to improve things a lot for birds in the flyway. And this is where it all started, Stockton Sands bit. Okay, that is correct. And just to remind people what it looked like when it was first, this is 48 years ago, so that's 75. This was created around 71, 72 as part of the dredging that went on when they built the bridge. There's a sand spit, there's nothing but sand there. A Newcastle Herald reporter went out there one day to record the progress of the bridge. Well, he also recorded a shorebird roost. There's little shorebirds here. And we have a close look, and we get an idea of these goblins. Black-tailed goblins, black-tailed goblins. Right? And there's knots in there and all sorts of things. So this is early 70s. The birds found the sand spit. Completely good, classic actually, shorebird roost. Nice open space, no vegetation, view of the water. A1. So the birds have loved it ever since, and that's one of the reasons why we try and look after it. And as long as we look after it, they'll keep going there. So, back in the day, our Hunter Observers Club was born out of another group called the Newcastle Flora and Fauna Preservation Society, or Protection Society, I think. And in 73, 50 years, in 73, through a lot of, urging, they got the sand spit declared as a nature reserve. Nature Reserve number 8951. This photo was taken 10 years later in 83. So you can see there's a bit of vegetation coming in. And in 83, Stockton Sand Spit was made part of the National Parks estate. So for that first 10 years though, our predecessors, and HBOC for that matter, were having working bees here, removing weeds and rubbish, and you go through all the old magazines and things, you can find proof of that where working bees were organised. From the earliest one I could find was 77 in the Natural History book. But certainly Hunter Bird Observers Club had working bees here right through to year 2000. Ad hoc at times, but 2 or 3 a year we were doing work here. And it's mostly to do about the getting rid of the juncus acutus, bitu and lantana and stuff like that was coming in onto the roost. You can see here also some mangroves starting to form out the front. So this is a process that's been going on up and down the eastern coast of Australia. Mangroves encroaching on salt marsh or marching across areas as a phenomenon. It's been exacerbated, we believe, in the Hunter Estuary due to the extended dredging of the river, certainly for ships coming up South Arm. Tidal prism was moving up further into the system and pushing the sea further in. Okay, so this is getting close to about the year 2000. There's been a bit of landscaping done at the sand spit, but you can see already that the mangroves are ringing around the roost. This has made birds pretty nervous about actually going down and roosting there. They don't have that line of sight. They've lost it. Shorebird goes and sits down in there. It's a nice open space, but they're nervous because predators can attack. Predators can leap back, can come flying through here, come over the mangroves and go out. So, HBOC and some other entities got together, decided, we really want to keep this as a roost. We've got to get rid of these mangroves. It's a bit of a thing. It's a bit of an argument. Of course, the mangroves are protected, and the guardians of mangroves is DPI fisheries. So, had to convince fisheries. Anyway, that happened after a little while. And after a couple of attempts, We managed to get some funding, but then we realised as a club we really didn't have the insurances to be a project manager. So we hauled it onto the National Parks and said, "Here, manage this." So that's what happened in the first hit. So around in the summer of 2002 to 2003, contractors came in and knocked down the mangroves. Part of that funding, it was like a remove mangroves, monitor shorebirds project. So the shorebird monitoring had started then, so that was good. That was our contribution to the funding. So anyway, the mangroves came down and the birds came back, just like that. It was really amazing. Part of that funding, like I said, was monitoring the birds. And at the time, we thought we'd do some additional monitoring, not just monthly monitoring, or, excuse me. So the midweek group decided to have a second midweek day per month and dedicate it to the sand spit, just for additional monitoring, but also to start tidying up some of the vegetation on it. So that was the 16th of April 2003, 20 years ago. That's the 20 years, okay? So that lasted for the rest of for that season, but then a couple of fellas, Anthony, Neville and myself, decided that, I don't know how or why we decided it, I can't remember the conversation there, between us we decided we need to keep this going and see if we can just take it a bit further. So we did, and for most of the time, our work wasn't pulling out mangroves because they just turned up once a year. A lot of our effort was in getting back to this sandy, shelly sand surface. So there we are, doing the ridiculous thing of removing all vegetation. Can you believe it? Mountains of vegetation coming off there every year. Anyway, we stuck at it, and we continued to do the shelly sand thing, or what came to be known as the Great Winter Effort. Of course, it was a great effort. Oh God, the wind comes roaring down that river. It's icy cold. Anyway, we managed to keep that going for 17 years, which is quite remarkable, till the vegetation won in the end. Anyway, that's how it started at Sandspit. And we kept that going. Each year we have just getting in there by hand, removing as much vegetation as we can, getting it back to sand. So I'll just go back a step. One of the reasons why we wanted sand. So we had various roost characteristics to offer the shorebirds. But some of them like to stand in shallow water. Okay. Some of them like to stand in water nearly up to their bellies. But from that to shallow water, some like to hide in salt marsh. Some like to hunker down in the spirobolus, the grassy margins of the salt marsh. And some like to stand on shelly sand. Other birds like to stand on rocks, perch in muddy mangroves and other things as well. But we thought, whatever we could, we'd give them as many choices as we could at the sandspit. The birds that used to sit on this stuff were things like the sand plovers, the knots, and back when that was a feature, the godwits would come and stand on that sand, and they'd stand up for about an hour, and then they'd go across the river to the dikes. They wouldn't stay the full tide at the sandspit. That's really interesting how different, the birds have changed tack time to time as things change. But in any case, that was our rationale. We got mechanised at one stage, where we race around with a rotary hoe, and that did a great job. That sort of didn't halve the amount of effort, but it took a fair bit off it. But what we needed to do after that was actually to rake out and sieve out the sand and the vegetation that was still in there. We kept that going for some time. It was quite an amazing effort. So, what have we also created? We've created a beach for ground nesting birds. We didn't even think about that, but these birds turned up. It's the red-capped plover. Juvenile birds are gorgeous, mate. Shorebirds. You want to see them when they're just juveniles, they're gorgeous. And the pied oyster catchers. Probably across a period, I should have checked all this, of about 8 years, there was a peak for the red-capped plovers. We probably had 8 pairs nesting there. Some pairs were doing multiple clutches across a year. And one bird even sat down on eggs like it was almost water. It's ridiculous. These birds not so lucky. There was a high failure rate in actually getting to hatchling stage. But once birds come out of the eggs, there was 100% rate from hatching to feeding by themselves and growing up. The attention that these parents gave their babies and the red-capped plovers was quite astounding. Really attended to their babies like mad. Anyhow, so that's the sand spit. And every year we go there. We were doing great winter effort for 17 years. There are some subtle changes there at the moment. But certainly the mangroves, we keep doing that every year at Sandspit. You get to a point where you've got something under control. The big effort in the early days is toned down a little bit, and you've got some free time. So we turn our gaze to Ash Island and these places. So in 2004, we got some Enviro Fund money. I think the first lot was Enviro Fund as well, 2001. And that funded, again, tree fellers to come and knock down mangroves that were on Melon Pond and around Swan Pond. Due to lack of follow-up, that got out of hand. There was no follow-up, basically. Also, the contractors didn't finish the job. They couldn't keep crews on the ground, and their method at the sands pit was they removed all the timber, mulched it up, and made wood chips out of it and made some dollars out of that. This is a different kettle of fish. Removing timber off Melon Pond was difficult. And if you go for a walk out on Melon Pond even now, you can still see the ruts where the tyre tracks are made through the salt marsh. They're still there. So, 5 years later, we got a combo of caring for country and a share of Kritzfond money. That totaled about $30,000. So we had another go at this at Ash Island, and this time we're going to do a good job. 48 years ago, Melon Pond. There's the road and the huts. Devil's Look. Whatever. It's unreal, isn't it? Fantastic. Is Tom Kendall here? Tom Kendall's photos, please. Yep. Right. So, from about halfway down Millen Pond, looking back upstream, we said, oh, the volunteers can do all this, and all the other stuff was for the contractors. Look at that! Look at that! And all you do is just pile stuff up. It was just nuts. I don't know how many days it took us a while. Anyhow, the funding, we decided to do all this work across 3 winters, because there's obviously going to be a lot of rotting vegetation. Fisheries are on us. They want to know how many mangroves are going to kill. It's impossible to count them. They want us to notify them if we had a fish kill, all that sort of stuff. We killed one fish. Oh, we found one dead fish. So, I thought that was pretty good actually. We could actually find it. So this is what we can find. This is what you're looking at if you walk away and live 4 or 5 years. Right? Okay, so you go up to Millen Pond and you look at it, you go, it's wonderful. Right? If you don't go there every year, it's going to look like that. Because this process just keeps going on. Down the other end. Right? Okay, so contractors, we defined a method there. We used brush cutters with tungsten tipped saw blades on them, and you can cut through lots of stuff. And mangrove stands up to 2 inches, maybe 65 mil. So you cleared a lot of the area out. The contractors did. So me, well, volunteers to point out and all that other stuff. So that gets rid of the bulk, and then you come back along later with chainsaws to knock down the bigger stuff. So this is our method. We're just knocking it down and letting it drop, letting it rot, go back into the mud. After the 3 years, there was still these stems. All the leaves are gone, but you still see the stems all around the place. It took like 5 or 6 years for all that to go down. But it only cost us $30,000. Right? It wasn't $1 million. Don't be say. Anyhow, there, fun. The really good thing is the attitude of the crews. These are bushel generators. They don't want to get dirty and build stuff. So that was a big deal. And they kept coming back. And at the end of the 3 years, there's a ceremonial cutting of the last mangrove. Great fuss. So you can see here, like this is, you can see all around here, this stuff's still rotting down. It's flat mudflats these days. And encroaching salt marsh, it's coming in from the sides. I keep an eye on that and measure it. You can read about that in the report if you so desire. So that's what's going on over there, and it's the same deal. I've already said it every year. This is what happens. The seedlings come back, we've got to go and get them. That's at Phoenix Flats. This is down at Swan Pond. Bunch of green core or green army or whatever they call themselves. They're having fun there, ripping mangroves out. Conservation volunteers, this is Millen Pond. We don't see this sort of thing anymore because we've made some arrangements there with mangrove propagule exclusion devices. That's tickled by a couple of steps. But we're still getting a lot of mangroves in there, and last year it was horrendous. Just the way things happen in the estuary. But this is a process that's got to keep going every year. Right, we get that under control and we find ourselves with a bit of spare time. Well, actually this crept up on us. Someone came and told me that some politician in an election campaign speech said that they were going to give the Hunter Bird Observers Club some money to do stuff in the estuary. Anyway, the election came and went, everyone forgot about it. The next thing, there's some bloke from Canberra sending me information about how to fill out the application form. We didn't even apply. But he's telling me how to fill it out so that we might get it. I filled it out as per instructions. Guess what? There goes the money. So what we decided to look at was what we call some remote sites, and with a view for looking at Plan B alternatives for roosts. A big deal with the shorebirds in any situation is, you know, you've got a favourite spot, but you know, if things aren't like a comfortable area, there's predators, there's disturbance, whatever, things going on, I think we'll go to Plan B. So out on these places here, there's a beach here, there's a couple of beaches here, there's a beach, and there's a marsh there, and we also had a look in here and including this. I thought, well, let's throw the money at that, and we'll see how we go maintaining it. Same deal. I think the Species Recovery Fund. 2016 was the election, must have. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's just a detail. We got the money. So, this was cast in terms of critically endangered far eastern curlews and the curlew sandpipers. I've got to admit that I don't know that what we did on that particular instance actually helped either of these birds, but it did help shorebirds. Anyway, everyone was happy. So, again, this is what's going on. We're working through the winter. A couple of reasons for that. I should have pointed that out earlier. Winter, we're not out there working in the boiling hot sun. Winter, there's a lot less migratory birds in the system, even though we still go and do work at low tides. That gives us our access to our places. So, contractors turning up on day one at Smith Island, removing mangroves that are walking over the salt marsh there. There's 14 hectares of salt marsh on Smith. So they went and did all that sort of chainsawy stuff. While volunteers hit the beaches, and this is a group of intrepid land care people. It's based at the uni, and I think we had 3 outings where we all jumped in kayaks, we went for a big paddle, we went for an adventure, out to some island, you know, and we killed stuff. It's fantastic. Great. Anyway, they're all enjoying themselves, and that's all that matters. So these beaches all cleaned up very well. And an immediate response to them was greenshanks are using it as Plan B. Other birds have used them. We've had wimble standing on those beaches at roost. Wimble, they usually up in the mangroves, and the perched up in the mangroves. We do see them on the sandstick sometimes. Wimbles, bartail godwits, and stilt have been using those beaches. So that's been a benefit. Right. So this is the situation now, isn't it? These are all the sites that Hunter Bird Observers Club look after. And this is our ongoing project. As it turns out, you know, you add this and you add that and you add the other thing, it turns out we're actually looking after 150 bloody hectares. But the work is a lot easier than what it was 20 years ago. Because, you know, we're attending to it on a yearly basis. We're not letting it get in front of us. That's the big deal. And, you know, a small group of 4, 5 or 6 people can manage it. Like it's sustainable. There has been a couple of spikes, a couple of years where the mangroves have fruited like mad. And certainly prior to last season, which was a horrendous year, we had some interesting weather across a period of about 3 years. End of a drought and then 2 years of rain, flooding, and there's just all sorts of stuff going on. Plants didn't know what to make of it. And the mangroves in the system were dropping fruit every month of the year. We had already determined that August, September, maybe October is when the fruit drops. And when we wait 4 or 5 months for the seedlings to come up and we go into it. But every month of the year. So last year's effort, we're pulling out stuff this big, big. So it was just crazy. All right, so how does it get done? By volunteers. This is a big day we had once at the Sandspit. And since the 16th of April 2003, which is 20 years ago, and I've been keeping records, we've accrued all these hours, and that's another thing that just keeps adding up. I don't do anything, just put a number that goes as a deposit. It's brilliant. So that's pretty good, and all the way, you know, I remember when I was filling out that application form for the Enviro Fund, or the Caring for Country. You know, how confident are you? Very confident. Look at this, you know. We've got people, we're committed, we're doing stuff. So you've got something like that going on. Government agencies are more than happy to sort of help you because they know they're going to get some return. So the other thing that I didn't realise until I started figuring out was we actually had about 480 people, different individuals, have been involved over the last 20 years. And this is brilliant because and, you know, a lot of those people have turned up once, but that's fine. But I'd like to think that 480 people have at least got some sort of vague idea about shorebirds, about the issues and what we're doing in the Hunter to help them, which is like a learning thing which we never even thought about, we never factored it in. But whenever we got volunteers down at Sandspit or somewhere else in the estuary, there'll be a point in time when there'll be something happening with the birds, and I'll tell people, stop working, have a look at this. So there's always things going on, even at low tide. So shorebird observations is a part of the volunteer effort. Right, that's been going on. And yeah, there's 480 people. Where do they come from? Well, a lot of different places, and these are some of the groups that have came and made a contribution at some point in time over the years. International Student Volunteers. That was a great program. COVID knocked it on the head as it started going. You get a busload of kids from you know, Korea or Japan or North America or something like that. They're so keen, right? They're so keen, and they'll just get into it. It's fantastic. They are always good days. TAFE, ongoing relationship with TAFE. Once or twice a year we'll have students come out and do wetland health monitoring, but while we're there we might do some work. And we'll certainly do some observations. The Kuragang, which has had several iterations, and it's got a different name now, but those people have come over from time to time to do work. Religious groups are looking for an outlet to do some environmental work. These are Muslims and Buddhists. They've been down there at the Sandspit. The Buddhists did a great job. They all went and sat out here and watched the sun, and meditated and stuff like that. It's fantastic. This mob turned out it was the best food you ever want to see. The food like you wouldn't believe. It's fantastic. Intrepid Land Care, we've mentioned them. And Wildlife Green. So there's just some of the groups. There's other groups like scout groups and some business houses that you know want their people to do some have a day doing something. So it's all added to the mix. This is what happens every year. Don't get carried away, because a great amount of those seeds will perish sitting on the beach. Okay, it's a big knockdown rate, so that's why we wait. That's why we wait for 4 or 5 months, and only deal with those that are struck and not like that. So, I've talked about people. There's also other entities that make this whole thing work. And it's not just Hunter Bird Observers Club doing something like it's not us against the world or something like that. It all happens with the support of many other groups, like-minded groups, other groups interested in the health of the estuary. Certainly there's working relationships in here, like fisheries, for instance, without the licence, they're not pulling a single mangrove. But all of these entities have supported us, and we've supported them. So that sort of thing needs to happen in a community if you're going to get work done. And that's my favourite photo from the Sandsbed. And this is the bird that sat down at the end of summer. This photo was taken in June. That there is a juvenile bird, but it's been looked after so keenly by the parent, right? It's a big sook. Right? It's a cold morning at the Sandsbed, and it's still going underneath Daddy's wing. Unreal. Fantastic. Anyhow, we've mentioned all these other people, and the best of what I can glean out of the things, these are the H-Block people who have been involved over those years. 90 odd names there. If you can't see a name, well. And if you think it should be there, see me later. But I think that's not bad. It's about 20% of the mob that's been involved and made a contribution. Some people have made bigger contributions than others, of course, and others are ongoing. And the group we've got at the moment has been pretty keen the last 3 or 4 years. So it's about people, it's about organisations, it's about relationships and maintaining all that. It's certainly about these fellows, about the shorebirds, migratory and the non-migratory that we get there. That's what it's been about the last 20 years and beyond that. I feel we've got an obligation to these birds. That's what gets us started in the first place. What keeps us going is the absolute joy of seeing these things turn up and go sit down and relax and go to sleep in a place that you've looked after. So that's plenty of reasons for thinking, well, we're going to do this again next year. But one of the great things in the early days was actually watching as each of the species, they took different amounts of time to actually get back to the Sandsbed. And the golden plovers were the longest, and they took, I think it was about 5 or 6 years. A lot of other birds just came straight back in. But golden plovers, and like, just think about that 1983 picture of the Sandsbed. Golden plovers used to love that place. And then there was an instant where golden plovers would turn up after the roost and just come and have a look. And then there was an instant where we had some golden plovers actually go to sleep on the place. Yes. Now, on a good day, you can get 180, maybe a couple hundred golden plovers. It's fantastic. And like I said before, it's us doing that a little bit, thinking globally and acting locally. That's the story.